Welcome to this edition of Albuquerque Business Review. I'm your host, Tony DellaFlora. You're probably all familiar with binge watching. Well, consider this the Business Review's version of that. We're going to attempt to cover a season's worth of business news in one show with my guest, Gary Oppedahl, Director of the city's Economic Development Department. We'll discuss everything from the latest on ART, downtown construction, and cargo-oriented development. I'm sure a term you haven't heard before. And all the way to South by Southwest and the story of some mysterious visitors from the East. So I hope you'll stay tuned. Gary, thanks again for being here.
It's always good to be with you, Tim.
Again, we always have so much to catch up on. We only get to do this once a month. So plenty has happened. But let's go right to the issue that's been on everybody's minds for a while, the ART, the Rapid Transit Project. And that's taken a new turn recently with some lawsuits and some controversy. And we're not going to get into the merit of the lawsuits today, but the city has been attempting to sort of listen to the concerns of the business owners and attempting to do whatever it can to mitigate the impacts of construction, that kind of thing. And the Small Business Resource Collaboration is one of those programs that's intended to do that, right?
That's right.
Okay, tell me a little bit about how did that get started and what can business owners get from this?
Sure. Well, and one of the reasons we have so much to talk about, Tony, and why this is just such a fun position to be in is the mayor has really started a flywheel going of economic development that is going to pay off dividends for years. And so we're getting really good things happening every day. And we're just really happy to talk about it. So let's talk about the Small Business Resource Collaborative. Whether you are for art or against art, it doesn't matter. We as a community need to rally around our fellow brothers and sisters along Central Avenue in a community barn raising type of event. Okay. You know, this is a chance for the community to come together and support those businesses along Central. Right. And so the Small Business Resource Collaborative is a way to do that. This is nonprofits that have gotten together along the Central, and it includes Accion and our friends at West and the Main Street, okay, and several other nonprofits along the way that are there to help out those small businesses in a non-prescriptive way. We really are going from door to door with 7 individuals that are asking, wow, what do you need? What can we help with? And we're finding some amazing things. We have already designed 6 logos for businesses that didn't have logos. We've created web pages and landing pages for businesses that didn't have those. We're helping with setting up charts of accounts in QuickBooks. These are the kind of things that will help these businesses weather the short-term storm, and there's some things about that I'd like to talk about, but so that they can make it through to much better business after ART is in place. But we're doing all kinds of things on behalf of the businesses, a lot of services and goods that they have available to them that they wouldn't otherwise have. We're going to be doing pop-up events. We're going to be doing, go to lunch on Thursday for this restaurant that's been affected. Band pop-ups on Saturdays in some of the construction zones to get people downtown so that they can realize that Central is never closed. Route 66 is open for business the entire time with one lane in each direction open the entire time through the project. So it will never close. There'll be construction in front of some of the businesses for as much as 60 days over the entire length of the project. But it will always be open one lane back and forth. So we're starting off with events. We're then going down the path of business technical assistance in things like everything from QuickBooks and finances to social media and marketing to facade improvements. And we've gotten large parts of the community, including NAIOP, involved in these things to help out these businesses. Then we're looking at putting together tailored financial assistance and community services, such as armed response. My good buddy Dave Muir says, well, we can provide free security along the route for any construction. Boom Time has said, this is something that's usually about $250 a month. For marketing, they've said, hey, we will provide free marketing for those businesses along. So we're going to be able to provide them on the business side of things. If you back up to the 100,000 foot level, it's build, business, and beyond.
Right.
And our concentration right now, the build part is making sure that people are communicated with 60 days in advance, 30 days in advance, and real time during construction, making sure they know exactly what's going on during construction. On the business side, it's how do we support those businesses along Central during construction.
Right.
We know that there's 1,200 businesses along Central, 800 that are affected on the 8.76 miles of actual construction, and then 374 of those businesses, which we consider ones that we want to make sure we're there for. These are businesses under $2 million in revenue, family-owned businesses that are there that we want to make sure can be open and prosperous during this and maintain as many of the customers they currently have and even add some new ones.
Okay, let's get a couple specific things. You were talking, marketing help is one of the things. You mentioned logos, landing pages, other media strategies. I mean, what other kinds of things is this team getting into, or being able to offer, I guess?
What we're trying to do is not be prescriptive, right? A good doctor diagnoses before they prescribe. So instead of coming up and saying, well, we've got these services that we've thought of, what we try to say is, what do you need? What is something that could help you out? And when you say, and when we ask a business, so can you give us your customer list? We'll help with increasing your brand awareness with some offers and other things. And if someone says, I don't know who my customers are, well, we help them with that. Right? But if they know who their customers are, all the way to, I've got a complete list, well, then we help with identifying and giving communication out to their customers and encouraging them to come downtown, along with others. Right?
Right. So this sounds like something that would have been a great idea regardless of art. This is something the city probably should have been involved in. I don't know.
Tony, that's a very astute observation. I believe that this is something, if done well, and we intend to do it well, could be open to other businesses after the ART project is done. Because what we're finding is a lot of small businesses are out there passionately pursuing their goals with respect to, making donuts or providing haircuts or doing some kinds of goods and services. But, we're finding that they could use some help. And we, as a community, we have the resources to help them. We have all the assets we need in Albuquerque and in New Mexico, for that matter. It's it's about awareness, coordination, distribution, and flow. So how can we bring mentors and executives on loan and other people into this? We've already got commitments for executive on loans. As these 7 people go out and do triage, they can then act as conductors and say, hey, this business needs help in this area. This business needs help in this area. And we've got some people in the community who are saying, wow, I can help in that area. I think this is something that could continue past ART.
Right. Now, is there also a component of some financial assistance for some of these businesses? Or?
We're working on putting together a fund that would be available for tailored financial assistance, whether that's forgivable loans, whether it's low-cost loans, or even market rate loans that may not be able to be given by banks because of the situation. And what we're looking to do is build that fund. Now, we have a wonderful thing in New Mexico called the anti-donation clause, which prevents public funding from going to private companies except through LIDA or the SIC. So we're looking at all the options to figure out how we build that fund through private, through philanthropy, and through other kinds of funds that could be used to build that fund to do that. And we're starting our campaign now to build that fund, and we intend to build a fund.
Great. Well, again, it sounds like something that there's no reason not to continue doing something as long as it can be funded, I guess.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no reason not to help out businesses. That's exactly what the mayor wants us to do, right? Is become the most entrepreneurial-friendly city in the country, and toward that end, we care about all of our entrepreneurs, whether it's a solopreneur, a micro-enterprise, whether it's a Main Streeter with 2 to 25 employees, restaurants, barbershops, et cetera, whether it's second stage businesses who figured out how to get their goods and services to go regional, national, international, or whether it's those high growth businesses that are just going to really take off. We want to make sure that we support all of them. Existing businesses, new startups, and other businesses that may come to town. We've got some vacant properties on Central. If I'm coming to town, I'd look at that as a place to go, especially with ART being able to bring you customers.
Right. Well, speaking of ART, back to ART, when is the project again scheduled to break ground?
July 27th.
July 27th. Okay. And of course, I'm out on the street. I hear people. The concern is, that Central will be shut down for portions as this thing's being built. that's not necessarily the case.
Only if we want it to be for a festival or Summerfest or something like that. But no, we're working with a CMAR, which means a construction manager at risk, which means that the constructor is coming in, Brad Bracedam is coming in and saying, look, we're going to pull this off on time, at budget, maximum price. And all along, we've committed to these business owners that we will have east and west, those one lane open in each direction the entire time.
Right.
So the message is Route 66 is open for business the entire time. And the only way we're going to have decreases in business is if the rest of us don't go down there. And so we should help and do that during this time. Like I said, community barn raising. This is a good community project to help out those businesses along the way, because when we're done with this, we're going to have a bright, shiny penny at Route 66 through the entire corridor. I mean, if you think about a black and white map of Albuquerque, we're going to colorize this entire corridor, 4 blocks north and south, and along that route with storefront to storefront, new pavement, sidewalks, lighting, and it is really going to be something that people from around the country will want to come and look at. People who come to our conventions at the convention center will be able to jump on art and go up and down to the Biopark, the most visited place in New Mexico, up to Nob Hill, even up to Coronado and ABQ Uptown. Remember, every other bus going east is going to go into the Albuquerque Uptown area to that transfer station. To service Coronado and the new Winrock and ABQ Uptown. So it's going to be a great place for people to be able to get around. And that's the really cool part about this. Any family that can get rid of a car is a $9,000 to $12,000 raise.
Yeah.
And that's going to be more expendable income for those who live, work, and play along that corridor.
Right. I want to ask you one more question on ART. Of course, there's been a lot of contentious hearings, but the city officials have consistently said, we will take into consideration your comments and suggestions and stuff. And what have they done? Are there suggestions you can think of that have the city will implement now because of these hearings or because of other dealings you've had with business owners?
We just met with a group just a few weeks ago, and literally they came in with 15 of suggestions or requests, and we were able to go, okay, 10 of these, yes. 2 of these, let's talk about further and let's see how we can do it. 3 of them, you know what, this has been in design since 2011. We've spent millions of dollars on this design with experts from around the country who are much smarter than we are on this. I mean, this is not something that hasn't been studied. We just woke up one day and say, oh, let's do BRT. This is something that's been studied, and really the rigor that goes into getting a fast starts program in the president's budget is such that if this was not the right thing to do, the mayor the entire time has said, look, let's study this thing, and if at any point we find that this is not the right thing to do for Albuquerque, then let's not do it. But the answers keep coming back. This is exactly the right thing to do, to take our next step for mass transit, to have the first BRT gold standard in the United States that people will actually literally come and look at for what they're doing. There's 32 of these projects going around the country right now. And we are going to have the premier project going on. And why wouldn't we do that for Albuquerque? Mayor loves Albuquerque too much to leave it the way it is, and status quo isn't working. So we need to keep leaping forward and making sure that we're making progress to attract, again, those millennials, those baby boomers, and those remote workers that want a higher density, mixed use, downtown, walkable, bikeable, good transit that's attractive to the job creators of the future, and we need to jump into that future now.
Okay. Well, on another transportation issue, I have heard the term cargo-oriented development as part of the city's overall strategy. Tell me about that.
We have a system and a strategy that these things all fit into. And if you look at TOD, Transit-Oriented Development, that's our ART.
Okay.
IDO, which is our Integrated Development Ordinance, that is going to simplify our 83,000 pages of sector plans and zoning, for make it easier for businesses down to a few hundred. Then IOD, which is your innovation-oriented development, which is happening downtown, and some of the great announcements we've had recently from Innovate Albuquerque and building new buildings, et cetera, and our concentration of getting all our entrepreneurs, innovators, and those that love them into one area so that those collisions, those interactions will produce companies and jobs. Well, what we've added to that is COD. COD stands for cargo-oriented development, and it has to do with the fact that, we reference the big I all the time.
Right.
But do we realize what that means? We are sitting at the intersection of the only freeway system that goes completely from Mexico to Canada and east to west. And we need to take advantage of that. We also have BNSF, a major railroad system that goes across the entire country, that goes right through here, just south of the city. We also have an airport that has an international designation. So recently we just announced that we've extended our forward trade zone with the help of Jim Hind and the aviation department, 90 miles surrounding the city, the entire MSA. So now that's going to make it easier for people to do bonded warehouses and under U.S. Customs control have sealed containers come through and not have to wait 5 hours at the Mexican border or 2 weeks at the San Pedro Long Beach border and come here and under U.S. Customs control be opened and distributed. That's huge for us. We will finally become the transportation hub and now the inland port that will really catapult us into the future. And our friends at BNSF are saying, hey, we will support this. They're supporting the study that we're doing that is going to put this all together for us so that the spend, every dollar we do, will have the maximum effect and maximum return on investment. And then we're going to move forward with creating that transportation hub that we really should have taken care of a long time ago. And reestablish the Camino de Real, that comes from Mexico City to Albuquerque.
Right. So this sounds like this is more than just a boon to Albuquerque. This sounds like it's a statewide or regional benefit.
We are more and more trying to think regionally. Just last night I was up in Santa Fe at the demo day for SFID, which is the spinoff from ABQ ID, our accelerator. It was hugely successful, and it was great to see the energy up in Santa Fe. I always say there's only 2 million of us in this state. We all ought to get along and cooperate and build each other up. And yes, this is a regional approach. We think regionally all the time. I mean, we owe it to our taxpayers in the city of Albuquerque to be good stewards of their money.
Right.
But anything that we do for the region helps us all, and that's very important for our state.
Right. Well, so how you alluded to it before, but how does this all fit into sort of the mayor's vision of what transportation can do for Albuquerque?
This is the whole point of the whole strategy, which is what can we do to make it easier for people to get around, making cool connections between cool places in Albuquerque, and attract not only and make that for the benefit of the locals, but for the visitors that come. Something that Tanya Armenta, who runs the ACVB, told me the other day that really stuck with me, is that we've got 18,000 rooms, hotel rooms in Albuquerque. Right. And average, we've got a 50% occupancy rate. That's average. It doesn't count Balloon Fiesta where we're overflowing, et cetera. If you think about that, that's 9,000 visitors to Albuquerque every day. We want those 9,000 visitors to be able to get around easily, like some of the major cities and even the mid-sized cities that we compete with, and say, wow, Albuquerque's a place that has their act together. Albuquerque's a place that's investing in itself and really knows what it's doing going forward. There's a strategy here. I can see it. So in addition to the buzz that we're creating around entrepreneurial activities and innovation and all the things that we're coming up with, the ideas that are attractive, we want people to see that we know what we're doing with respect to transportation. Remember, the ART, that first line along Central, is the first leg. Then we go from the airport, Mr. Cog is working on this right now to start right after we get done with Central, that goes from the airport over to the Health Sciences Center. So pretty soon you'll be able to get off the plane at the airport and use the ART system to get anywhere along Central and over to UNM and to the Health Sciences Center. Eventually what we'd like to see is that goes to the Health Sciences Center, down through the Jefferson Corridor, down across Paseo, and then back around Coors and back down to Central, down to downtown. So we create a loop that will really bring us into the 21st century in a way that makes it easy for transportation for people to get around, not only locals, but the people who are visiting us every day.
Yeah. Okay. Well, good. Well, I'm sure we can talk more about that, but I want to move on to there's been I understand we're going to be seeing a lot of cranes over
Yes.
downtown, and not the type that are on their way to Bosque del Apache. What's going on down there?
Well, listen, cranes are my favorite thing, and I have a real love for cranes. If you visit my Twitter page, you will see cranes. I love seeing them. We see them right now at Chaco, at the new hotel that Jim Long's doing next to Hotel Albuquerque.
Right.
But what you'll be seeing as of this summer is 2 groundbreakings that are going to be phenomenal. The downtown is going to look totally different by 2017.
Okay.
We have the Innovate Albuquerque first segment is going up. And that is going to be an amazing building, 159,000 square feet, 320 live spaces for the Innovation Academy students. These are upperclassmen and grad students and those who have an entrepreneurial bent who are taking a side-by-side transcript model that Rob Del Campo is leading this over at UNM under Dr. Frank's very big vision about this. Mm-hmm. And that is, whether it used to be that entrepreneurs were thought of as either engineers or business school people. No, it's now everyone from your geology, geography, arts. They can take a dual transcript type of curricula which talks about entrepreneurial mindset and some of the other things about starting a business, or just taking your idea and helping the world out through a nonprofit or anything else. People think that entrepreneur means start a business. No, it's looking at a problem and saying, wow, there's an upgrade here. I know there is, and I'm going to creatively and through innovation make that upgrade.
Right.
And then I'm going to passionately pursue that upgrade despite current obstacles and current resources. We've got to get over ourselves that we think there's no resources here. There's plenty of resources here, and it's called us. And so that Innovation Academy is going to be down at the Innovate Albuquerque, and the 320 students are going to be there, which is going to provide a lot more activity downtown. In that 159,000 square foot building, then the first floor is going to be banking through Newsenda and a cafe and a fitness center and some of the other amenities. AFRL is going to be in there. There's going to be, and we're still working on others that will be start that first part of the entrepreneurial mall where entrepreneurs have everything they need in this downtown area we call the Innovation District, called Innovation Central. Right across the railroad tracks is going to be One Central, and it will be breaking ground this summer also. One Central is a bowling alley, family entertainment, outside dining, and it's going to be 74 more live units and 460 parking spaces that we need short term until we can get people out of their cars.
Okay.
Because more people are moving downtown with Molina and Lavu and RSI and others that we can't announce yet. That are moving downtown to really, and what we really are concentrating on is kind of eds and meds, the educational. We got UNM and CNM moving downtown.
Right.
Some of the meds, look at Molina, we've got some other announcements coming soon, to be anchor institutions so that the coffee shops and the dry cleaners and the amenities downtown will be stable, and then we can add in more innovative things on top of that. So you'll see the skyline change with 4, 5, 6-story buildings right across the railroad tracks at Broadway and Central and First and Central, and then we'll work on the pedestrian link between those, both at Central and at Copper, so that this becomes a real hub of activity downtown.
Okay. Well, we just have a few more minutes. I wanted to go back and revisit. We didn't get a chance to talk last time about the city's big visit to South by Southwest and what happened down there. Let me, fill folks in on.
Sure. Yeah, Albuquerque blew the place up. So everybody at South by Southwest knows who Albuquerque is. We won Startup of the Year with Cultivating Coders, and by the way, let me just shout out to them. They have as far as we know, the world's first Native American hackathon happening at the Epicenter this weekend, the 22nd to the 24th, which is fantastic. And we intend to build an ecosystem that involves everyone, and we don't want to leave any rungs out for any of us.
Right.
We want to include everybody in that. But Cultivating Coders is a great business model. And they were there and won Startup of the Year. We won Accelerator of the Year with ABQ ID.
Wow.
And then we had the best panel of the session with our mayor, Mayor Barry, along with the mayor of Sacramento. We know him as KJ, who played for the Suns, Mayor Kevin Johnson from Sacramento. And they did an amazing panel and just played off each other and talked about how, if your name is not Boston or Austin or Bay Area, how are we bootstrapping our own ecosystems using the resources that we have? We never want to become the next Silicon Valley, because we want to be quirky, sticky, and linky on our own and not create the cliques. We want to be inclusive. We want to make sure we build on our amazing arts and culture and heritage here and build it in the right way. And so we're doing that now, and it created a huge amount of buzz. And as a matter of fact, there's a few of our companies, including Cultivating Coders, that are talking to major nationwide companies as a result of that, of what we did there. So it was fantastic. We had over 50 people from Albuquerque there, but it looked like we were hundreds.
You had to be, I mean, as enthusiastic as you always are, you had to be a little bit shocked by the reception down there, right?
Well, last year we met the founder, Hugh Forrest, and he took a real liking to Albuquerque. And I told Hugh, I said, "Look, man, we're weirder than Austin with better weather and less traffic, right?" And he just laughed.
No bats.
And we've become friends, And he likes Albuquerque, in a co-opetition standpoint. Albuquerque and Austin are very much like each other, and so we're developing that sister city. Now we've got a couple direct flights there. Allegiant's now flying their direct flights. Southwest is coming and making another move toward that end, and so it's a fantastic thing. We now have direct flights back and forth with Allegiant paving the way, and you'll see more and more activity between the two cities, and that's a good thing.
Good. Well, speaking of people knowing us from all over the world now, Albuquerque was just hosting a delegation from Central Asia, I understand. Tell me, what was that all about?
Well, let me tell you, the delegation was fantastic, and it was great. These folks are trying to create entrepreneurism in countries that you wouldn't necessarily associate with being entrepreneurial, right? And in America, we have that entrepreneurial spirit, that pioneer spirit. But in some cultures, that's not as much. And so they came here to learn how we were able to cultivate that entrepreneurial spirit and get things going. And so we were able to talk to them about our Innovation District, Innovation Central downtown, Innovate Albuquerque, our entrepreneurial mindset training for our city employees, which are now going to go from 100 to 2,500, and in the city where we're trying to get to the first 1,000 through our anchor institutions. So it was just a very enjoyable visit, and we love sharing the things that we've done. Again, growing the pie bigger, making more prosperity, and helping to figure out how to tie in resources to our issues of the day, not just creating the next app, but what our real issues are. And it was just a great time hosting.
And just so people understand, we're talking about Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, Mongolia, and Tajikistan.
That's right.
I can barely pronounce all these.
That's right.
So again, these are not countries we think of as leaders in the innovation world necessarily, but hey, I mean, have you been boning up on your Mongolian lately?
No, well, I haven't, and I wish I could have spoken a few more sentences than I learned there for this visit. But I have to tell you, again, the more we help each other out, the more we help ourselves out. And we love diversity in Albuquerque. We're already blessed to be a minority-majority city and state. And so we love it when we interface with other cultures because we learn too. And that's the key, is learning from each other. And again, it's co-opetition, not competition.
Right. Well, Gary, unbelievably, we're out of time already, but I think we did cover almost everything we were talking about. So thank you for doing that. I appreciate your time again, as always. And I want to thank you for joining us at Albuquerque Business Review, and we'll see you next time.